Good morning or good night, guys. This is going to be my wake up or wind down stretch routine. So this is just here to help you guys follow along, gain some flexibility. You can play this whenever you wake up in the morning and you want something to follow along to, or before you go to bed. It's just here to help you guys work on flexibility, which is a really neglected part of your overall fitness, I feel like, for a lot of people. So this hopefully is going to be something that you guys can just turn on and follow along and really work on this part of your overall health. Flexibility is really important. And I just want to go ahead and say, if you are not a dancer or someone who regularly does yoga and you're going to go ahead and try making stretching a part of your daily routine, I commend you, because stretching is hard. It is hard to do if you're not already flexible, but once you get past that hurdle and it starts feeling better and better on your body, you're going to be so happy that you started doing this for yourself. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so if your apartment or house is freezing cold like mine is, you're going to want to start by getting your muscles warm. We don't want to get our heart rate up too much, so we're just going to do some prances while we push through our feet and kind of swing our arms a little bit, get the blood flow moving to all the different parts of your body. Next, we're going to go ahead and take our stance into a wide second position. We're going to turn our feet out, and you can just kind of slowly rock back and forth here. Kind of get a feel for everything. If you want a deeper stretch, you can go ahead and put your elbows down into your hips and use your elbows to push your knees out even further. If that's uncomfortable for you, you can go ahead and just stay up. Whenever you feel ready, just go ahead and push your right shoulder forward while you put your right knee back, and then switch whenever you feel like you've gotten a good enough stretch from that. Next, we're going to go ahead and place our hands on the floor, turn our feet in, and now you're just going to want to let your head really relax, make your spine as long as possible. If you need to, you can go ahead and put a slight bend in your knees. We're just kind of rocking back and forth here to elongate our spine and to stretch behind the legs. Now I want you to go ahead and nod your head yes, and then shake your head no. You want to really release the muscles in your neck right now. So again, nod your head yes, and shake your head no. We're going to repeat this just a couple of more times until you feel like your neck is really nice and loose. Remember, don't hold any tension in your spine here. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and grab your elbows and we're going to rock back and forth, really letting all that tension go in your spine and your head. Remember, it's okay to keep a soft bend in your knees if you need. Next, we're going to go ahead and walk our feet in together. Go ahead and bend forward as far as you can while keeping straight legs and a flat back. If you need, you can go ahead and bring your hands up to your knees. It's just really important that we keep our knees as straight as possible and our back as flat as possible. We don't want to do any rounding. If you're more comfortable with this type of stretch, go ahead and you can reach actually behind your feet. Just do whatever is most comfortable for you. Next, we're going to go ahead and get seated on the floor. You're going to put kind of like crisscross applesauce, but really one foot in front of the other here. We're going to use your hands to push your knees down if you're able. And then if that is not a deep enough stretch for you, you're going to go ahead and lean all the way forward with as flat of a back as possible. Again, if the forward fold is too much for you, you can absolutely just stay leaning forward and use those hands to try and push your knees to the floor. We're going to go ahead and switch sides here, same exact thing. one foot stacked in front of the other. Use your hands to push your knees down, and then as flat of a back as you can, we're going to go ahead and forward fold while keeping those knees low to the ground. Whenever you're ready, we're going to go ahead and walk our hands back up. We're going to put our feet together, take a couple of deep breaths, and just roll your neck around in a couple of circles. Really let that head weigh heavy whenever you roll back and down. Make sure we're sitting up nice and tall in our spine. Next, we're going to go ahead and hug one leg over. Currently, I'm doing my right leg. You can just squeeze that knee into your body, but if that's not a good enough stretch for you, go ahead and take opposite hand leg, put your elbow over top of your knee, and you can twist your body away from your knee. We're just going to hang out here for a minute. We're going to come right back into the center position. We're going to do a couple more neck rolls, really stretching out that neck, really making sure that our upper body is nice and warm. And then we're going to go ahead and do the other side. So now I have my left leg crossed over. I'm going to hug that knee really tight into my body. Again, if that's not a deep enough stretch for you, you can go ahead and do opposite hand over your knee and twist away from your working leg. Next, we're going to go ahead and come with our feet straight out in front of us together. You can point your toes down, sit up nice and tall, kind of lock up those quad muscles, pull your knees up high to make sure that you have a nice strong leg. And we're going to go ahead and lean forward with a flat back. If you can't reach all the way down to your toes, that's totally fine. Just go as far as what's comfortable with a flat back and straight legs. Those are the two most important things. And if you feel like you want a little bit more of a deep stretch, you can go ahead and flex those toes up. Again, this is what we can be working on if we're not as flexible. Just putting your hands somewhere near your knees. And if that's too much for you, it's also a good idea to kind of tuck one leg in, and we can just work one leg at a time here. You can go ahead and feel free to pause the video if you want to hold the stretch for a little bit longer and work on both legs. If not, we're just going to stay fully folded forward with flexed feet. Next, we're going to go ahead and take our legs out into a wide second position, or a straddle if you are not a dancer. We want to make sure that we're sitting up nice and high with our knees facing the ceiling. I always tell my kids, thumbs up, knees up. And we're just going to gently lean forward. You definitely don't have to use your full range of mobility here. We're just getting started. So go ahead and rock back and forth. Just lean forward, do what's comfortable. It just gives you kind of like a small stretch. We don't have to overexert ourselves here yet. You can play with moving your feet around, either flexed, pointed, or relaxed, whatever really feels best for you here. All right, we're going to go ahead and walk up. We're going to turn our chest towards the leg that you want. Again, flat backs are always super important if you're rounding into a stretch. You're definitely not getting the full benefit. So a flat back, you're going to lean towards either one of your legs. Ideally, we would have our rib cage touching the top of your leg. If that's not possible for you, just go as far as you can. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and walk over to the other side now, chest to knee. I also want to remind you that stretching is not holding a pose. Stretching is not trying to look like someone else stretching. Stretching is solely trying to look like you stretching. So whatever that means for you, make sure that the entire time you're holding a stretch that you're working deeper into that pose. Like right now, you should be really focused on pulling your opposite leg away and locking it tight down into the floor, continuing to push deeper and deeper into that stretch. That's truly how you gain flexibility. Now we're going to go ahead and do opposite hand to foot. Keep your arm that isn't working in front of your body. Again, if this is too much for you, really we're working on stretching your lateral side. So just go ahead and you can keep your front hand placed on the floor and just stay up a little bit higher. If not, go ahead and fold over, whatever's comfortable for you. It's a really great idea here to try and push your working shoulder into the floor. All right, we're gonna go ahead and switch, making sure that our knees are still properly placed, leaning up towards the ceiling, and we're gonna reach that opposite hand to foot, remembering to keep the leg that is not working really straight, really knees tight, pushed into the floor so that we're getting a nice even stretch on both sides. We're going to go ahead and sit on up. Make sure that our legs are pushed back as far as they can be. If you're comfortable, go ahead and lean all the way forward. If not, just kind of trying to hang out here. I know we've been in this position for a little bit, but this is truly how you're going to get those muscles to eventually relax, is pushing yourself. So we're going to go ahead and keep our back flat as possible. Keep your legs out just as wide as they were in the other stretches. And if that hurts too much for you, you can go ahead and just sit up. All right, we're going to bring our legs in now, and we're going to come to a nice tabletop position, or you can go ahead and roll through your center split if that is feasible for you. Either way, we're just going to come to a nice tabletop position. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and take those tabletop legs. We're going to push our tailbone up into the air into a downward dog, really making sure that you're sending the hips up towards the ceiling and back. Keep your head in line with your spine, shoulders pushing out into the floor, so we're really stretching the entire back side of your body. And then if you're comfortable there, you can go ahead and prance your feet while pushing one heel deep into the floor while you're coming up and stretching the arches of your feet on the other side. And just move at a pace that's comfortable for you here. If you don't want to move around, you can go ahead and stay still, but if this feels good, go for it. Next, we're going to go ahead and roll through. You're going to step your right foot forward into a runner's lunge. We're going to work on keeping our weight equally distributed in the middle, keeping your hips nice and squared up, hands on both sides of that front foot, really stretching that back knee. You can go ahead and sit it down, and we're going to push up into a forward lunge. This is really important to push your hips forward, making sure that you're stretching that psoas muscle that's extremely hard to reach and notorious for dancers to not pay attention to it. If you're comfortable here, go ahead and lean on back so you can really get that psoas muscle. If this is too much for you, just go ahead and stay with your hands propped up on your knee. Whenever you're ready, we're going to go ahead and straighten that front leg. You can either come all the way down and sit onto your back leg, or I'll show you in a second if that is too deep of a stretch for you. You can just stay with your bottom knee elevated and lean forward towards that front leg. Again, it's really important that we keep a flat back here. Whenever you feel like you're ready, you can go ahead and flex that foot. Again, a flexed foot is always going to give you a little bit of a deeper stretch behind the knee, whereas a pointed foot is going to give you a little bit less of a stretch behind the knee, but it's still just as good, and you should definitely alternate both. All right, next we're going to come forward. You're going to walk that right knee out, and if possible, you're going to go ahead and put your elbows down. This is really going to stretch your hip flexors. You can turn that leg out. Just make sure that your back leg is as extended as possible. If you're a little too tight and your knees too bended on the back, you probably won't feel this very well. If you need, you can come up on your arms if it's too deep of a stretch. If not, I encourage you to go ahead and put your elbows down. And now we're going to put our hands forward on opposite sides of our front foot. You're going to extend that front foot as far as you can and slowly go ahead and extend. If this is as far down as you can get, that's fine. Just hold yourself up. If not, you can go ahead and relax into your split. We're just going to stay up nice and high. Don't worry, for those of you who are not in your splits, we're not going to stay here for a very long time. I'm going to take it easy on you. If you're in your split, go ahead and forward fold, alternate, and then you can go and arch back a little bit. Then we're going to just tuck that front leg into a pigeon pose. If you want, you can keep your elbows up or down, whatever feels best for you. Just make sure that you're focusing on keeping that back leg and knee turned under so that your knee is touching the floor. So we're going to step our right leg back through and we're going to go into a downward dog again. We're going to repeat that entire circuit onto the left side. Next, we're going to walk our feet out into an upright frog. It's really important that you try and keep your heels pushing into the floor. Use those elbows to turn your knees out and try and keep your chest up as high as possible. This has always been a stretch that I struggled with. I generally have tight hips, so really breathe through this one. Keep those palms close into you. Use those elbows to help push out your knees, and just bear with me here.